You know, after Charlie Kirk was killed, there were a bunch of music videos that came out. And I was so happy to see so many people that I knew were on the left, artists, I should say, that were making these songs in commemoration of Charlie Kirk. But as it was accurately pointed out, that most of those songs were AI generated. And it kind of is amazing that we live in such a day of where we have so many books that we can read and so many sources of information that we don't know what is real and what isn't, more probably today than they did 1,000 years ago. In my opinion, the more that we can all arrive at real truth and what is reality, the closer we will come to unity. Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, he pleaded with his Father, let them be one as we are one. I wish that we could all come together. It really is disturbing to watch so much division within the country, and I've seen it culminate over the last over the last 20 years. But there's always been divisions. What I like to do with these podcasts is give you an idea of how to arrive at the truth, how to arrive at reality. There's many things that stand in the way of us coming to truth. I mean, if we could just close our minds and think and clear every other external noise out of our mind, and we could become receptive to what is reality and what is truth. Some of the things that stop us from doing that are preconceived notions, things that we just naturally believe about the universe, about the news, about everything around us, that we don't even really think and analyze why we think the way that we think. The other thing that blocks us is indoctrination, either from college, either from people that we have followed, maybe heroes we've listened to, maybe parents. But when we become indoctrinated, immediately our mind drifts towards whatever validates whatever we've been whatever we has indoctrinated us. The other thing that blocks us is a normalcy bias. We want things to be a certain way. They have been a certain way, and in our mind, we see them to continue that way, even if the way is either not right, not just, not legal, not anything. The whole idea of illegal immigration, the normalcy bias at this point is that it's okay that people cross the border illegally and that we let them stay, and that anybody that goes against that normalcy bias is wrong in some way. And I think another thing that blocks us is willful ignorance, that when somebody points out something that we just don't believe, that we just turn a blind eye. We just shut down. We shut down our mind, even though the logic or the fact that might be put in front of us is so obvious that it goes beyond comprehension why we couldn't accept it. The other thing that stands in the way of us knowing truth is tribalism. When we believe in either our it could be a religion, it could be a political party, it could be even a football team. When we see something fall in the face of it, we immediately want to defend. We dig in and we want to put up all the facts that support our team. We're almost like lawyers in a courtroom, even though the guy sitting across the aisle is the guy that we are defending is a murderer. We're going to try to find every bit of evidence that proves he's not a murderer, and that's how we defend our churches, our political party, our teams, football teams, whatnot. The other thing that stands in the way, it's a huge one, is ego. This is the example of this, and I alluded to this from the Ezra Taft Benson speech that I was sharing with you on the last podcast, is that ego makes it so that we could hear something that's a pure truth from Scripture that doesn't line up with the way that we want to live our lives. So rather than changing our belief system to align with maybe what God wants us to believe or act, we continue with the way that we want to see the world and the way that we want to act or think. It's really hard to get past that. And somebody that is a true seeker of the truth will put aside ego and turn it down and understand that if a truth does come up and it goes against our mental proprium, or our belief system, then we need to figure out a way to assimilate it and line it up. The other thing that we need to think about is tradition. Sometimes we run into our own belief system that was set up generations ago, and we could believe the same thing generation upon generation, and then somebody could point out to us, hey, I think something's wrong with the way that you're thinking about that. It could be the way that we cook. It could be the way that we exercise. It could be the way that we live our lives. But because we learned it from our parents and they learned it from their parents, we follow in the tradition. And this is really true with religion as well. A lot of times we're not open for more truths because we're very comfortable with the traditions that were set up by our parents. I'm not saying that that is necessarily a bad thing overall when it comes to religion, but if there is more truth available to us and further light and knowledge, then it seems to me that we should be seeking that and opening our mind so that we can receive that. The other thing that that we run into is agendas. And sometimes when we're doing our work and we know something is ethically wrong and we do it anyway, obviously we want we do it because we either want money or power. That's a microcosm of what happens on a national level in this country. This this whole idea of illegal immigration and the whole idea of fighting federal agents that are only trying to do their job is a classic example of agenda politics. And I say this because this is really dividing the country right now, and there's always going to be something that's politically driven to divide the country. And I don't know that everybody is aware of the Cloward Piven philosophy on trying to take down a representative republic like what we have here. But a lot of it is done through fraud and creating so much debt in a country that it will cause the underpinnings of the country to come apart. I really believe that this is what is occurring in Minnesota. I think there are sincere people that have poor neighbors that came from Somalia, that came from Mexico, that came from other Latin countries, and that they only want to protect them, even though they may be here illegally. And I can understand that. I can understand other people wanting to come here to have a better life. But what I find repulsive is that when money that we pay in taxes goes to NGOs and then ends up in these different groups, like the groups of protesters right now in Minnesota, I have a real problem with that. And I have a real problem with the fraud that's been committed there that needs to be investigated. But this is agenda politics. And I'm not saying this only happens on the left. There's agenda politics on the right. And but I see a huge amount of this on the left. And it's hard for people to open their minds and see what is in front of them. And I look at this in terms of when I see a agenda blocking our path to the truth. I think what we have to infuse is real intellectual honesty, and see if there's special pleading occurring. And when I see somebody like Ashley Babbitt that was gunned down and she was unarmed, a 5'3" woman, and I've mentioned this before, and there wasn't one tear shed, or there wasn't one person that wanted to build a monument on the left of the aisle. And now this one man that shows up with a loaded gun and attacks ICE agents. I don't know what this man is expecting is going to occur. First, he's breaking a federal law by impeding and attacking federal officers. And to think that that's okay is I don't know how you can think that, because I believe that you may be trying to protect your neighbors, but you're being manipulated by organization above you. And that is the Tides Foundation, that is George Soros, that are there's many other groups that are donating money and organizing all these protests. And if you fall into it, I understand why you are, because you care about your fellow human beings, but you have to open your mind. Please just take time and think, is this, are these people honest people? Why are they all of a sudden so adamantly against ICE agents? When Barack Obama was in office, there was a reporter that went around with them, and they actually arrested the wrong person, and there was nothing said of it. They just eventually the man was let go, and it was found out he was a U.S. citizen, and they didn't make a big stink about it. But right now, they need this agenda to work, because then it hides the fraud that's being committed there. There's a lot of money that's being ran out of the country from all this fraud. Anyway, it is painful to see so many people that are involved in this. Many of them, I don't think, really know how they're being manipulated. I think Walz is reprehensible for causing all this, all these riots. If these people think it's okay to protect illegal immigrants and to have sanctuary cities, then I need to know if it's okay if we don't pay our taxes. I need to know if it's okay if I don't drive 200 miles an hour down the freeway. I mean, what laws should we obey and which laws should we not obey? Are we a country of laws, or does each state decide that it's okay to have illegal immigrants, so they're going to have it even though they're going to get funding and they're going to commit fraud with federal money? It's not right. So I'm hoping that some of the things I've said will be helpful in your quest to know the truth. I think that this whole incident that's occurring up in Minnesota right now is horrible, but I think it's what I consider to be a mind op. Just like January 6th was a mind op, they needed to have a certain outcome for it. They needed to call that an insurrection. They needed to get rid of Donald Trump, and and they attempted to do it for years and years and years. And that's reprehensible. So that kind of behavior I would have spoke out against when it came to Barack Obama, and that it's just reprehensible. And that's the truth. You notice that nobody is calling these attacks against police officers in Minnesota an insurrection. If you watch CNN, if you watch MSNBC, anywhere you look on the left, Reuters, they're not calling it an insurrection there, but they were the first to call January 6th an insurrection. And there's just no intellectual honesty in any of it. You might think that some kind of a right-wing hack, but I'm not. If there were a reason or a cause to defend somebody on the left that I thought was just, I would do the same. But and I would have defended Kennedy, and I would have defended his family to the death for what happened to him. And he was a Democrat because it was wrong. And that really has never been settled.